Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the RealNex webinar series. Today, we are talking about efficient deal management using the projects and systems inside of RealNex to help you drive deals to completion as quickly and efficiently as possible. I am Jeff Finn, and with me today is Matthew Smith. We're going to take you on a deep dive into RealNex projects, talk about how do you use it not just for executing the deal, but winning the deal. How do you build your pipeline? How do you manage listings and assignments? How do you use our new Kanban boards? How do you apply timelines, our great tool for systematically and consistently pursuing both business and running deals with specific tasks that need to be completed by you and your team? How do you manage deals in deal rooms with a way to load your documents, drag and drop folders, run processes, engage your clients, and accelerate sales processes, and then manage leads through our deal tracking within projects to drive the deal to completion. And of course, all the way along, managing all of your activities and reporting to clients to make them, keep them up to speed on all the work that you're doing to handle the projects for them. So Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about efficient deal management within the system. And of course, as always, we are recording the program and we'll be sharing it with you to review. So if Matt's going fast, you'll be able to catch up with him, but I know he's going to moderate so that you can all track along with him. But if you have questions along the way, please chime in and we will address the questions the best we can, either during his presentation or at the back end.
All right. Well, I appreciate that as always. I'm glad to be back in the saddle here. I've been out traveling to Vegas back and forth. I feel like I lived there half the year. I want everybody to look at two things that I felt that was really important on here that's come up lately. And instead of going back and forth, I figured I'd kind of address it at first. We put a lot of improvements in the program. So we recommend that you go to guide me in the upper right-hand corner to check them out. As I talk about different things, whether it's creating a timeline or loading documents, tracking statuses and logging history, I want everybody to understand that there is a hidden gem in here. Now, this hidden gem is right over here. You'll notice an arrow. So when you have the full screen open, you'll notice an arrow right next to create new property, contact, or any of that stuff. That is what I dubbed as one click. And I think it's important to understand what it does. So we'll talk a little bit about timelines, we'll talk about events, we'll talk about history, we'll talk about projects through our program. You can create any one of those actions with one click, right? So it's open it up, what do you want to do? Open it up, what do you want to do? So to create a project, a property, a contact, a company, an event, a timeline, you don't have to go to those top toolbars and open them up. When I was on a mastermind call yesterday, it's amazing how many people were doing 9 clicks when in reality, the program allows it to be done in 1. And so I just wanted to take time out of my day in the beginning to show that. I also want to show one more thing as you're going out and you're cataloging your properties. Web links are really awesome and web links are great. And one of the things that I wanted to show you is a sneak peek is if you click web links, you can actually click the Google image. And then if you take it here, you can drag it. And now I have a photo there. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but as we're talking about effective deal management, these are things that are going to help you be more effective in your business development pursuits. Seeing a picture of a person, seeing a picture of the building, using the Kanban, using the one click, it's going to allow you to do things faster, easier, more effective inside the program. And I just wanted to take a moment out of the presentation to show you that.
Matt, you're jumping the gun on next week. So just to remind everyone, next week we have our What's New in FAQ, and that's one of the highlights that Matt just gave you. So there's a ton of them to come. So be sure to join us next Thursday as well. So Matt, thanks for sharing that in advance to make sure everyone can take advantage of that.
Absolutely. And please do come to that because this is one of many that will show on that. So how do we get to something like this? How do we get to a beautiful pipeline that we can see where we're at in process and touring and offer pending, out for signature due diligence? How do we get to that point of tracking all our leads? Or how do we get to tracking all our pursuits and creating a business development pipeline like this. I'm going to show you how easy it is to do. One of the things that I like to do is I like to create one project. And with that one project, I like to create something like seller pursuits or landlord pursuits. Now, the way that I track these is a seller pursuit or a landlord pursuit to me is going to be building specific, where a tenant pursuit or a buyer pursuit might be a company or contact specific pursuits. So I usually like to make one project called seller pursuits. You might want to set them up. So one is a seller pursuit, one is a landlord pursuit, one's a tenant pursuit, and one's a buyer pursuit. I create the type. Within project settings, you can set the type in there for seller pursuits and such. And then the statuses usually correlate with what are those statuses in your business development pursuits. And then I simply go ahead and I click on leads and I'll add those properties, those companies or contacts as a pursuit. And if you click on this leads dashboard, you'll see that it's easy to move them from working on valuation, presented evaluation, to one listing to a lost listing. And you can move them around so you can see where you're at in your deal process and your development pipeline. Now you can color code them like I've color coded mine. You can add probability to them. You can do a lot of different things within inside of the program to make it more effective when managing that. Once I've won the listing, then I'll come over and I'll manage the listing. And again, you can use the Kanban board to manage your listings. Whether you're placing debt or development, landlord, raising capital for lease or tenant rep, you can easily move those deals across. So once we win those assignments, I create my own separate project, and then I move them down my funnel as necessary. And this way, I not only can track my business development pursuits, like what am I doing to get to the listing, the lease, the deal, but I can also track where I'm at in my deal. And it's a similar flow throughout here. So then you can go ahead and manage your listings and assignments easier, faster, and more effective. And you'll hear me talk about it all the time, that you can move those around. Now,
Just take a step back, Matt, because I think that's a great overview, but you've taken a leap there that I just want to connect the dots to. You started with a project, sort of a bucket of all of your leads, your pursuits, and the opportunities that you're pursuing. So they're all under one project called the landlord pursuit or the seller pursuit. Then once you win something, can you go in and show how you create a specific deal then in the projects that someone can then take and manage that through its life cycle?
Yeah, absolutely. So then what I'll do is I'll put my result as one. It'll remove it off this view here. And then again, using one click, I can come over here and I can click on this section to add anything, or I can just say new project. And from here, I'm going to create a new project for that. And again, everything is relational. So you're not duplicating efforts. You're just typing in who's the client. In this case, we're just going to type in the word Nick because I should have someone in Nick. So I'll put in Nick in here, and then listing could be whatever that listing would be. Maybe it's 56 Tribune, and I just type in 56 Tribune, and then this one here is for sale, and then my status is in process. Reason for selling is what the reason would be, retiring, getting out of the game. And you can see in here, as I change my status in here, my probability changes automatically. So that was set during the setup process for my projects.
Well, just refresh us on that piece, because not everyone might remember that for a listing, there might be one set of statuses, and for a tenant rep, another set, and those are all configurable by the user or by your team.
Absolutely. And they are tied to what the type is. So these statuses are tied to for sale. So if I change that to tenant rep, because this is a tenant rep deal, then my statuses change. If this is the deal for lease, then my statuses change. So each status is tied to a type. You might have 50 statuses, probably too many, but you might have 5 statuses. The statuses are really important because the statuses are not only for the project, but they're also for the lead. That way you can track where your leads are at in the assignment. Once you create this project, it'll create its own separate project within inside of your RealNex program, whether it's for sale, lease, doesn't matter. And then this is a way that you can track participants. whether it's an external broker, an attorney, an agent, primary agent, splits, or any other details you want to track on that. So again, you're tracking your business development pursuits, but then you're turning those into listings and assignments to track throughout here. And it becomes really easy. And you'll see that I'll click in different spots. Sometimes I like to just look at my leads like this. How old are they? Other times I like to click here on my leads dashboard and move them around from left to right. You can do it how you see fit. You can even add more columns by clicking the column section, or you can eliminate columns by moving them off. This is my column view. Jeff's column view is different, but we're in the same system. Works awesome. And you'll see things like real campaigns and such within the program, and we'll talk more about that as we go in through the updates, FAQs, and what's new within inside of the program. Now, I also mentioned that there are things like events and history and assigning team members and attaching these to a project. Well, we've made it easier than ever in order to do that. So let's open up Needham Industrial. So Needham Industrial is a property that we have going on. Right now, the status is out for signature. We're going to move it, and we're going to say it's just in process. So I moved it in process, and now it's in process. One of the things that I'm doing is I'm going to create and configure a timeline. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a timeline so you can see how easy it is to create one. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say timeline. But you know what? I don't see a timeline here that I want for this deal. And so you'll notice a couple areas on here. First area you're going to notice in here, most people don't see it, it says teach me. Okay, that's to teach you how to create a timeline. You'll also see this little I over here. This I is for information. So if I click this I, it'll actually create a timeline for me using our automation. If I click teach me is going to walk you through how to create that timeline. So if you don't have a timeline you need, you can hit a new timeline and we can actually build a timeline right through here, and you can create one and configure a timeline. So what's a timeline? A timeline is a series of activities that are associated to you or your team that will go in a certain order that allow you to be as productive as possible. But just as important, it'll also turn that into a report. So Jeff, here's all the things I'm going to do to list your building, lease your building, find you new space, raise capital, whatever it is. Each one of these activities can be assigned to a start date and a duration. You can choose to have an alarm for it or a priority type, whether that's normal, high, or lowest. You can add in hints here. So when you analyze the market value, make sure you get the information from inside the CRM and push it into there, right? So you can add notes in here for whoever is participating in that event. And you can add multiple participation, can't even talk. You can add multiple people on your team to participate in those events. Or maybe that event is just going to be for that single participant. Matt's responsible for this, but James and Steve are secondary. Instead of having to create 10, 20, 30 events, you're creating one timeline in a swoop, and you'll schedule it here. It'll create a nice Gantt chart. You can go ahead and you can drag and drop the order of these. So if you need to move them around in different orders, you can. If you want to edit them or delete them after you've created it, you can do that. They will then show up on your calendar, your dashboard, as well as they'll show up in the events section with inside of your project pipeline assignment. As they get completed, you can see here mine are old. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish that. As those get completed, they turn into a history, which then builds a marketing activity report. So the system starts to work for you. So if you're tracking your business pursuits, your listings and assignments, and you're using the Kanban board, you're doing things easier, faster, more effective. You're creating and configuring those templates, and you're assigning those teams to those templates. And if you're using the one-click, it's going to automatically assign that to that project, so you can do it right there. But again, you can do it in the event section as well if you want to do that. Now that's going to be tied to a project, so every time you complete that event, it'll start to build that marketing activity report that owner is going to ask for and say, what are you doing to lease my space? What are you doing to sell my building? Or you just listed in and put in a sign out front. And using any one of our number of reports, you can generate a beautiful marketing activity report by event, by status, or a leads report so you can see all the leads activities right inside of the program on where you're at. You can even do the same thing. So if you wanted to create a leads report for all your pursuits, you can create a nice leads report. Now we'll have a release coming out sooner than later that will make this look even more mesmerizing. But this is a way that I use stuff right now, and I can track my leads and pursuits within here, and you can do so as well. So you can see where you're at, looking at on this, and I'll go to a different date set because again, mine's a demo database. I'm not updating it every second in here, but you would see in here a nice little marketing report, and you can see this for leads on a deal. You can see the activities on the deal. You can run a marketing activity report or a leads report. So again, allow the program to work for you. If you're in there and you're managing pursuits and your pitches, your buyer assignments, and then you turn them into a project, the program starts to work for you as you tie in and configure those templates and you assign those team members and the projects. Now, you can list your property through here to push it out to marketplace. You can create an email campaign. You can also go ahead and create a private secure deal room. Now, I haven't left the projects area. If you notice that I've stayed on one page pretty much the whole time. And that's on purpose because I want you to see how easy things can be done. However, I don't want to create a deal room in this because it already has one. So I'm going to go to another one of my properties that doesn't have a deal room, or in this case, not one that's sufficient. So what I can do here is I can actually come over to deal room tab and click a new link. But what's a deal room? What does that mean? What does that do? Well, a deal room is a way to organize documentation that you can provide access to for participants, whether they're investors, tenants, agents, buyer, whatever you want to share documentation with, you can create a deal room for. Sometimes it's used for lenders. A lot of times it's used for due diligence. Other times it's just as a gate to see whether someone is a real buyer or not. And so people have created that gate. So it's a gatekeeper mechanism. To create a deal room, there's many ways to create a deal room. And I'll walk you through the easiest way. I can say create new link, and that's it. And now what it's doing is it's taking it and making my own deal room from here. That's it. I mean, it's that easy. It's one click. Now from here, I can adjust my settings. And to make things easier, I'm going to give my recommendation. Always check these 3 boxes. You can decide not to, but I'm just saying, just get into a habit of doing that. My name. Name is what your deal. Obviously, you're probably not going to write off market, but Park Ridge Center. Active, that means it's status, it's active. If it's a deal that we've done before, it goes into suspended, so it stays in there, your documents stay in there, and your retention period's 10 years or whatever it would be. Obviously, we still retain it as long as you have a subscription. Contact information, just broker email or company phone and email address. And then you can upload your confidentiality agreement. If you don't have a confidentiality agreement, Google one, have ChatGPT make one, whatever, put it into PDF. If you don't have a CA, when you click on deal room links here, you're only going to get a deal room link. No problem. People then would come into here and they would register. You can help register for them and they can access the documents, but there would be no confidentiality agreement. Most people will sign off on one electronically. It's a checkbox. They execute it pretty easy. Once you do add your CA, you're going to get a different deal room link that'll bring you to the CA. It'll look similar to that same page. However, they're going to be prompted then to create an account, which is an easy process for them. And then you'll see in here that they logged in, or as Jeff famously says, haven't logged in. Now you can invite participants from the RealNex program by selecting CRM and selecting your participants like this. I can add an invite and invite all those participants. Now, you also can go ahead and you can say, you know what, I want to create a new participant, and you can add them in manually here. Not a problem. You can also copy this deal room link and you can create an email campaign, and that will allow you to invite them. Another way you can do it as well is if you have your listing in our marketplace, and you better have your listing in your marketplace, and you better use our Marketplace Director Premier to host the listings. People can access it from your website. They can access it from our site. They can access it from the link. There's many ways to get that information out there, including social media and other places that you can put those links. So those documents that you load, Well, have to come from somewhere. Now I have a new computer, so I don't really know all what's on here file-wise. So I'm going to drag this one file over here. I can't drag it here. Why not? Because it needs to be in a folder. Now it's going to say security level. In this one, I'm going to put maximum security level just for fun. Now I can do one file like this, or I can actually drag over my whole file structure if I have a file structure. And so if I'm going to go here and I want to drag this whole file structure, it'll allow me to upload that whole file structure right in here. Again, I had some shortcuts in there, so it gave me a little wonky message. Now I can add a sign off date in here. They need to sign off on this to remove contingencies for X, Y, and Z. I can add a sign off date and required sign off signature. I can see who viewed that document and who hasn't viewed the document. Again, really simple and easy. And then anybody that is part of my assignment in here can actually see all the activity in the deal room, and they don't need to log in the deal room. Only one person needs to manage the deal room. It's much easier typically when one person manages the whole deal room. Again, I can't stress this enough. If you need help walking through this or you're not sure how to do it, Guide Me can walk you through the library, the training, and even go re-onboard yourself with our Fast Start, Work Smart series that will walk you through some of these different portions. And then monitor the engagement. We also have an auto doc update. I like that. So if you put a new documentation in here, maybe your property's been in the market for 6 months or a year, and you have a price reduction. I see it all the time. Don't email me about it. Just put a document in here. I'm going to get a notification. And if I look at it, then call me. And have me write an LOI or just a non-refundable deposit. That's going to be able to help manage that whole process. Now, as I have this one built out, you're actually going to see their phone number and information. So now I can go here and I can click the dial. It automatically attaches to the contact in the property that I'm calling on. It ties it to the project automatically. It's doing all these things for you. Subject is follow up to deal room. Hey, Maddie, want to reach out? You going to buy this program, property, deal? This is voice dictation. I'm just showing you how you can just dictate your notes. Someone yesterday said, I want my phone conversation recorded with AI, and my head exploded. It's too many keywords. You just want to voice dictate your end, and if you use things like Grammarly, it'll fix your grammar for you automatically. It's probably the best $75 I've ever spent, besides investing in RealNex. It's a great way to be able to track that history, and then again, all that history for the follow-up on that deal room turns into a history here, which then generates a marketing activity report. So the program's working for you instead of you working for the program, and that's a much better way to do it. Now, again, if we go back to the leads, we can track our leads and our lead status and where we're at with all our leads right here. And we can move the leads back and forth, up and down, side to side, or anywhere we want to. We're logging that history, and then we're setting those follow-ups if we need to set a follow-up. We're very click friendly. And that means I can simply go here and I can right click and I can say add an event without ever opening the record. Don't open the record. Use our one click, use our right click, add, remove. You can add a lead to multiple assignments, multiple projects, and you can easily set those follow-ups on any of these systems. So when you come back in, you can go in the dashboard. See all these tabs I have up here, companies, contacts, properties, deal room administration, all that stuff I didn't go to. I was on the project tab 99.99%, except for when I showed you how to put that picture in there. You can do it all from one page or pretty close to one page when you're tracking your tenant pitches to your pursuits or business development timelines. Now, I am going to open up the dashboard because I want you to see how you can come in the morning like I do, and I can see everything. Don't show Jeff this because I'm 552 days past and I don't want to be in trouble for this weekend. So I'll just hide it from him. So you can see here that if it's part of a timeline, you see this little graph, and I can click on it and I can see where I'm at in my timeline. But what happens if, it's the weekend, I'm going out, we're going to go, let's move that Oh, this event is part of a timeline. Do you want to shift the remaining events in the timeline to match the change your events? Heck yeah, I do. That's awesome. RealNex is doing that for me. This is so cool. You know what? We actually want to make this one a little bit earlier. Not that early, but we're going to go ahead and move that to a different date. And then we want to move this one to a different date. You can actually do that. And now it moved all of them forward except for those two. Pretty awesome. I'll tell you, program's getting really smart. If it's a reoccurring event, you'll see that little circle. And then if it's a non-reoccurring event, you'll see that information right in here. So that's, again, easy follow-up with inside of the program. Your history, all your activities. Someone asked me yesterday, can I search all my notes in these activities? Absolutely. You can do a keyword search, or you can go ahead and say notes contain search, and then you type in what the notes contains. And I'm going to put the word speak in here, and I'm going to hit search, and it's going to put everything with the word speak in here, and I can pull up all those contacts real quickly and follow up and make a call and email them. You can manage all your assignments in the list view. Love it. I like the list view a lot. I know everybody's into the Kanbans, but I'm a list view guy. And you can start moving your deals down. And you can manage your leads. And if you click on these little people here, you can manage all your people. And again, this is a great way to manage everything all on one page, from your events to your history, to your pipeline, to your leads on your pipeline, where you're at, the age, the commission split, and all the deal events that you need are all in one place, in one easy access portal to get to it, including the deal room. And I haven't even gone into the great aspects of the email marketing through our real campaigns to follow up with it. I have a video called Gone in 60 Seconds that walks you through how to create an email campaign in here, whether it's a single campaign or it's email automation with a multi-scheduled campaign that sends emails based upon specific dates. You can use text fields in here, or you can use HTML graphics with inside of there. If your listing's in your marketplace, you'll be able to come into marketplace and see campaign statistics, listing statistics, and you'll be able to create an email campaign to our list of users and your list of users, sometimes within a matter of seconds, depending on how much detail you have in your package or your listing. And again, you can send it out to our community for as little as $49, $69, or $129, and you get to hit our whole community. So if you have tenant requirements, buyer requirements, if you have a property in disposition and you're running out of leads or you want more leads, pay a couple dollars, send it out, generate a lot of leads and activity, tie it into a deal room, and you have a project timeline, deal room, lead management, client reporting, effective deal management, find, win, close system that is going to take out all your competitors. Jeff, how are we doing on time? I tried to go as slow as possible, but there's so much cool stuff to cover. It's tough.
Hey, you're right up on the dot, Matt. So well timed, well paced, well covered. Certainly have time for questions though, if anyone has any. Looks like you may have addressed everyone's questions along the way, but I'll give another minute to see if there's anything
Yeah,
else
so
to wrap
one of the
up.
questions that comes up all the time is, what do I do with all my email inquiries? Well, you turn on your Outlook or your Gmail sync and you synchronize your emails. Now you can tie those emails into a project by simply coming over here and typing in the project's name by using the edit on button. And then you can take any of your emails to the project. We don't have it automatically linked to the project because if you know me, you might have heard my story of me having 500,000 emails in there. And look, it's not spam, it's back and forth emails. I don't want those all in my projects. So I attach which ones I want to a project and which ones I don't want to a project so I can report. But have your email automatically
On
linked.
that aspect, I mean, the emails with the Outlook or Gmail sync automatically link to any contact with an email address in the system, any matching email address, they'll associate with that. But when you get the email in Outlook, there's an add-in in Outlook, a side panel that if you don't have, you should download. And that will enable you to link those leads that aren't in or even if they are, to Matt's point, you can link them to a project or put them into a group for follow-up. So a very efficient way to take advantage of the Outlook sync in general, but also to take a focused approach so you're not cluttering up your system with messages, but where you do want to add a contact or you do want to add somebody individually from an email, you can do that.
Bill, I'm not sure what your question is. I think you fell asleep on the keyboard because there's a lot of A's in there. Let me know what that question is. You can.
So I think it's about how do you do the audio? How do you do that voice dictation?
Oh, got it. Yeah, it says mode. I think you fell on the keyboard there. Hit the Windows key and the letter H. That's all it is to do on a PC. I have no clue how to do it on a Mac. I have a Mac at home, but I don't really use it.
Yeah, typically on the Mac, there's just going to be a little microphone icon. Just click on that icon and go.
Oh, well, Mac's even easier. Well, there it is, folks. Macs are easier than PCs, but I still like a PC, so I'm here. I also went up to Guide Me and I put an Outlook. There's a video that walks you through the Outlook and Gmail add-ins. There's an email for an add-in for Gmail and Outlook, and it's in the App Store for Gmail and for Outlook. You just type in RealNex and boom, it comes right up and you can click to install it. It's super easy, and it can turn an email into a contact right in Outlook or Gmail. You don't even have to have RealNex open. It just needs to authenticate it. Hopefully you're all right, Bill. I'm worried about you with all those letters there. I think you might have fell asleep on the end there. But I hope you're doing well. We'll have to catch up soon. Look, we're here to help you find, win, and close deals. I hope you're enjoying these webinars as much as I am. I have worked really tirelessly about slowing down and making sure I move my mouse less. I apologize they did not have my mouse pointer on. As I mentioned earlier, I have a new computer. I will get my mouse pointer installed so you can follow along the red ball, hopefully in the future. But remember, from projects to timelines, deal rooms, lead management, and client reporting, we have you covered and much more. You can watch these recorded videos in our YouTube channel. You'll see them up in the Guide Me section. And I hope everybody has a beautiful, blessed week and a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend. And we remember everyone on Monday.
Thanks, Matt. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.